This is wonderful.
Bravo.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us. Welcome.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure.
So just to set the stage for everybody, during my master's degree at the University of Toronto, I had the chance to take a course from Dr. Schutz, who was a visiting professor for that semester, all about music and perception and cognition and psychology, and we just covered so much in that course, and it really stuck with me, I have to say. So much so that now, 5 years later, when Cornell and I were putting together this program, you were one of the top names that came to my mind as somebody who would say some really cool, mind-bending things about music. So thank you for coming, and I'm glad it's come full circle.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
So I would like to jump right into the conversation. The question that I have for you is, what have you discovered in regards to the relation between a physical gesture and musical performance and our perception of it?
Well, that's a great question because it cuts to the heart of what it really is to be a musical ensemble and to perform together. And sometimes I feel myself conflicted because I'll have certain intuitions based on my experience performing or conducting, but then with music psychology, we actually have the ability to move beyond these speculations that we often use and to actually test things and try and come up with an answer to these questions. And sometimes the answers are uncomfortable or surprising. So as one example, in the percussion world, we've long had this debate about whether it's possible to produce long and short notes when you're playing the marimba.
Isn't it just absolute? Like, the harder you hit it, the longer it rings, end of story.
Well, and therein lies some of the complexity. So some people say that when we use a long striking motion like this, it produces a long note. And in contrast, a short motion like this produces a short note. The question is whether we can control the duration of the note independent of other things like the volume of that. I took a music perception class and saw something called the McGurk effect. The McGurk effect is this fantastic demonstration where when you watch someone speak, you hear them say one thing, and if you close your eyes, you'll actually hear something else. So we'll give you an example of that now.
Ba 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 ba. 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 Ba 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 ba.
And so what I realized from listening to that is that it's actually possible for visual information not to only shape the sound or make us change the way we think about the sound that we've perceived, but actually to fundamentally alter our perception of the way we are registering that sound consciously. And so I started thinking, maybe it is possible for these gestures to actually change what we're hearing when it comes to music.
Very interesting research.
So do you think, before you come back here, could we ask you to try to fool us? Could you just play like a phrase of anything, random notes, and just do it with long and short gestures?
Sure. So how about this? Versus, tried to play it as similarly as possible, but used more legato-like gestures for the first version.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now we are entering the realm of so-called non-verbal communication. So where is this fascinating research taking place? I heard a rather very interesting sounding acronym of the lab that you established and have been running, and it's been called the Maple Lab. Instinctively,
That
I wanted to...
sweet.
Absolutely. There must be a very sweet sense of accomplishment after every discovery done.
Well, we get into some pretty sticky questions in the lab, so it seemed like an appropriate name.
So what is...
All right. So the first question about the lab: how much maple syrup are you producing annually?
How much do you drink at night?
Pour it in the
Maple
coffee.
syrup, of course.
Pour it in the coffee in the morning. So, so MAPLE actually stands for Music, Acoustics, Perception, and Learning. The whole umbrella of things that we research in the lab.
So what are some of the activities that, what's the range of activities? If you could just give us like the breadth of what you do there.
Yeah, so we research a lot of things related to how visual information plays a role in the musical experience. We also look at that same question from a different angle and look at how the body movements that we use while listening can actually change and in some cases improve our understanding of musical structure.
And just on a technical level, I'm very interested, what exactly do you do? They come into your soundproof chamber and then they have to play and you record them, or you also have other instruments, I don't know, slow motion camera or motion detectors, or how's that working? Could you show us some pictures of your lab?
Sure, yeah, I'd be happy to. I think the MAPLE lab is probably the world's first psychology research lab with a percussion focus. So we actually have our own lab marimba and a lab electronic drum set and an electronic marimba as well.
Ooh.
So in addition to performing on these instruments, for the most part, though, we're playing people's sounds and we're having them evaluate them, like whether the rhythm sounded correct or not, or did the note sound long or short. We're also doing a lot of work now on musical emotion, because I'm just fascinated in why it is that certain structures and combinations of notes can make us feel happy and other ones can make us feel sad.
So in other words, you are going back to the Baroque era and rediscovering in a scientific way the musical rhetorics.
Yes, you could argue that. I find it fascinating because the way we go about doing research in the lab is often taking an idea that I stumble into as a performer or as a conductor and start wondering, well, how does this really work? Like, does the gesture really change the way the note sounds?
Yeah.
Does tapping my foot really help me hear the rhythms better? Does this piece of music really make me sound happy? And then we sort of pick it apart. And that's what I find so fascinating about music psychology, is that it gives us the tools to really understand how music actually works.
Has your research gone into the little ancillary gestures, like body language, nonverbal cues? I'd be very curious if you have like, a laundry list of all the different types of gestures that can really help an ensemble to be cohesive or not, and what your findings are.
Yeah, my fascination with this issue is partly with the research and partly with the practical aspects of this. So in addition to running the lab, I direct our percussion ensemble, and I'm often coaching our students to move along to the beat to help with the coordination and keeping time. Some of them have the audacity to disagree with me, which is partly why we did this study of how moving along can actually help our understanding of rhythms.
So does it?
So we found when we had people listen to a pattern and we changed note around, and in half the trials they listened without moving, and half the trials they listened while tapping along, they actually did better when they listened while tapping. Huh. So movement not only changes, but actually improves our understanding of the rhythmic structure. And I think this is really important because when I talk to music students, I find about half the time people have said their teacher told them not to move while performing. And the other half of the time, their teachers were saying they should. And it's an interesting artistic question that we can't fully answer with the research, but what the research can show is that in certain situations, moving actually offers an objective improvement. So that doesn't mean you want to be moving maximally all of the time, but certainly a position that movement is not helpful at all is not consistent with what we're finding in the research.
I can completely agree with that. I mean, when we play, for instance, as a duo, we tend to find ourselves moving, with the beat.
And it
very
helps
similarly.
us to stay together too.
Like if we're on the opposite ends of the stage, very often that helps to actually keep the ensemble together. But even if we sit very closely to one another, it helps us to be more expressive, because if we feel that the ensemble is very much together, then it boosts the confidence, and then we become more expressive because we take more risks, right? If the foundation is there, being together, then it's easier to take more risks. I think that perhaps we should
Test this.
Test this out a little bit.
Yeah.
I always love experiments. What do you guys have in mind?
All right. What do we have in mind?
Well, hey, what if we actually played something on
Yes.
our instruments, and one time we were allowed to look at each other, and then the next time we're not allowed to see each other at all.
This is fascinating.
All
Is
right.
that
Let's do it.
All right.
And we're back. Okay, time for the first experiment of the afternoon. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Are you guys ready?
Everyone is ready?
Okay.
All right. Since we're all ready, why don't we play a very short excerpt from the one and only Rhapsody in Blue by George Gershwin in our own arrangement.
That's usually the end of the concert, so I feel energized now.
I can tell that we were together on this one
That felt
because we
good.
could see each other and we could see the gestures that we were projecting towards
So
one
did
another.
we pass round one?
Yeah, give you an A.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Is
Now
it,
let's
shall we?
face away from one another. All right, I'm ready. Are you ready?
I was born ready.
Okay,
Are you ready?
I don't know if I'm ready.
I hope I am.
Here it comes.
All right.
So, how'd we do?
Give that more like a C minus.
That's great.
So boy, it's really a lot harder when you can't see each other, right?
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when musicians can't coordinate using gestures, it becomes very difficult to make the phrases line up and to get the entrances working together. And I think that was a great demonstration of that.
I'd like to really ask, how did you become you? I mean, now you've actually founded your own lab, and you've gone all the way to doing this amazing research, but how did that pathway start, and what led you down this trajectory?
So in hindsight, it looks like I had this brilliant plan for following this very non-traditional path and ending up exactly where I wanted to be, but in reality, I really sort of stumbled from one good opportunity to the next one. My undergrad degree was in percussion performance because there's nothing I enjoy more than playing percussion instruments. But I also did a degree in computer science because I like programming computers. And I didn't have a good sense of how they would go together. It was just two things that I was super interested in. Like, looking back at that now, I can see that was the first recognition of my split interests in the art and the science.
So you did not feel fully comfortable, like 100% on the musical side, like music performance side, or in the scientific field?
Yeah, it's hard to explain, but, and I know like a lot of students can really relate to this because they're conflicted about where to go for their next step. So I have this conversation, I feel like every spring with some of my undergrads, but I felt like if I had just gone down the science side, part of me would be unfulfilled. And if I had just gone down the art side, a different part of me would be unfulfilled. And
So you found a happy medium, huh?
it's a great field because you can explore these artistic things using all the tools of scientific inquiry.
21st century music instruction and music pedagogy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives
Informed by science and by technology.
Yeah, it gives a new insight. And I use this all the time when I'm teaching, either private lessons or directing the percussion ensemble, because it helps answer and clarify things that otherwise we only have speculation.
Yeah.
Well, slowly but surely we are approaching the end of our very informative meeting with you. Thank you so much for being our guest one more time. And but before we finish, I was just going to see if maybe we could ask Dr. Schutz to play with us. What do you think, Michael?
Well, I don't know if it's been done. Digital accordion, clarinet, and cajon.
Which we still haven't introduced to our viewers.
So maybe it's time.
What is this right there?
It's not just a table over here.
No?
Oh.
So the cajon is a fascinating instrument that I only started playing more recently. The name translates literally to mean wooden box. And so what we have here is a hollow box with some special snare-like sounds affixed to this front head. So you actually, it's the only instrument I know of that you sit on, and that's okay to play. You can get some bass sounds, you can get some high sounds, and a bunch of things in between. So it's almost like a drum set in a box.
Interesting.
Boom.
Good. Cool.
So much fun. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we look forward to the next time we meet.
My pleasure. Music research and performance all in one setting.
Boom.
Yeah.
There we go.
All the best to you. Thank you very much, Dr. Schutz.
Thanks, guys.